everyone, it's Teresa Green with Slow Paths Wellness. Today it's Mindful Monday again, and I wanted to talk about going through the process of things. Part of mindfulness practice is recognizing that some things take a little longer to develop, that some things are more of a practice than a accomplishment, do something and poof, you're done. And mindfulness is definitely like that. The time you spend in mindfulness practice yields results over months, not days. Now, that's not to say you can't feel really great doing a quiet meditation or a quiet connection with your body or savoring nice things. It definitely can help in the immediate time, right when you do it. I know when I'm trying to be very mindful of how wonderful a meal tastes, or sit in my body when I feel anxiety and see where it's coming from and try to stay out of my head and into my body, that I do feel an immediate benefit. But the main benefit I feel from that is over the long haul, over months and even years, I've noticed that I tend to have to deal with less anxiety because my brain doesn't kick it up on its own anymore like it used to. It still does sometimes, but mostly it doesn't. And mindfulness is not just about the kind of meditative sit in your body. It's also having an intentional way of living where just as you can focus on your body and be in the moment and think, okay, my shoulders, do they feel tense or do they feel loose? Does my stomach feel calm? Are my muscles clenched or are they relaxed? That's one kind of mindfulness where you're sitting and noticing what's going on in your body, and in a lot of cases, if you wish to have it be different, try to begin the process of living in your body the way that you want to. Another form of mindfulness, which is essentially, it's really the same form, just kind of writ large, is living your life so that you're mindful of how what you do today will affect you in an hour, in a month, in a year, and in the rest of your life. So that you're not living what I kind of call, what Thoreau called a quiet life of desperation, and what I think of as kind of a desperate finagling of life, where in order to get a desired outcome, you try to kind of twist things so that they fit what you want. And that a lot of times, like get rich quick scheme kind of things are feeding into that mentality of I don't know how, or I don't want to take the time to do slow, steady work. So I'm going to try to just kind of force an outcome to happen the way I want it to. So a mindful life is about looking at what you want and then doing the processes that get you to what you want. So a lot of times in healthcare, in life goals, in a lot of different areas of life, it's really hard. I know in coaching we talk about SMART goals, where they should be and right now my brain may not connect with every single letter, but basically they should be goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, meaning they're realistic, and they have a time element to them, and there's whatever R is. I'll find out and put it in the comments because it'll come back to my brain as soon as I get done with the video. But those are good things to have. Being able to have a goal where you actually have some of the parameters of it set out makes you much more likely to achieve it. That's something that we have research to back that up. However, sometimes the goal you choose will also make a really big difference. So a lot of times when you read about goal setting, they will say to set the thing that you want, the actual attainment that you want. For instance, they'll say, you want to make X amount of dollars within X amount of months, or you want to lose so many pounds in so many weeks, or you want to fit into these kind of clothes, or you want to have this particular job title or this particular kind of car. And in my experience, at least, and in the experience of a lot of other counselors and coaches that I listen to and talk to, that's really not the best way to do goal setting, because things like, I want to make $1 million next month. Well, to some degree, you're not completely in charge of that. Unless you're going to you're going to just transfer money from one account to another. If you happen to have $1 million laying around, you can't force people to buy from you. You can't force someone to give you a raise. You can't force the economy to change so that your investments go up. You can't force a single act or any series of acts really to give you a very specific like numerical or very well-defined goal. So what they say instead is to look at the processes that give you that goal. So for example, if your goal is to have $1,000,000, then you would want to say, okay, what are the processes that I have in control of my life that for the most part I can manage to do on a regular basis that over time would lead to having $1,000,000? And so by the wonders of math calculations, you can come up with how much you would have to save at a given time to be able to come up with $1,000,000 in the rough frame that you would want to have it. So, 10 years or 15 years or whatever number you would have, you would see how you could plug it into a formula for compound interest, and you could see, if I saved X number of dollars each month, each week, each day, it would build up over time into this amount of money. And so then that becomes a much smaller goal. So it may be much easier to save $100 every, week, month, whatever. I don't do math very well, and come up with $1,000,000 rather than say, I need to have $1,000,000. But even better than that, in my estimation, is to look at the behaviors that make you more likely to get to where you want. Now, I don't necessarily like using the goal $1,000,000 as a goal, because a lot of times someone who wants to make $1,000,000, they can, rather, it's more the idea of millionaire more than a real deep individual, authentic personhood kind of goal to have. That being said, if you say, I want to start a foundation to help people to be able to afford health care, and I have done some research, and about $1,000,000 would be the way to have it so that it could be on the scale that I want it to be. It could be self-sustaining. So then that suddenly is a different kind of $1,000,000 thing. Or I want $1,000,000 so that I'll be able to take some time away from the work I'm doing now and be able to focus somewhere else. So since I've already talked about $1,000,000 for several minutes now, we'll just keep that as their imaginary goal. But there are many other kinds of goals that probably would fit more within the things that I do as far as health things, and we'll talk about that too in a minute. But so let's say that you wanted $1,000,000 and you wanted to figure out how to get it. Instead of even going down to figuring out how much money you need to have to make it, you instead think about what are the day-to-day activities that I can do that would land me into that $1,000,000 category. And that might be something completely different. That might be, it would be easier to make this money if I had a different certification, or it'd be, if you're in a sales thing, you may know that the best way to increase your sales is to make more contacts with other people. So instead of saying, I'm going to save this much money, or I'm going to earn this much money, say, I'm going to make this many steps in a direction that over time will make money. So let's go back to my specialty so that I don't get too far out in the weeds of something that that involves math. So let's say that your goal is that you are wanting to be able to have your blood pressure within a normal framework. Let's say you have high blood pressure, you'd like for it to come down. Now, you don't actually have the ability 100%, I think you do a little bit, 100% to kind of will that into place. But you can look at what causes high blood pressure. In general, things that are known to cause high blood pressure are an overall system of inflammation in the body. In general, people who exercise well tend to have lower blood pressures. In general, people who have a good stress management system tend to have lower blood pressures. And then there are also certain supplements and certain herbs that can help with that. There's plenty of herbal formulas in Chinese medicine, depending on what your specific Chinese medicine diagnosis is, that can help over time with helping your blood pressure. So if your goal is to lower your blood pressure, perhaps talk to your doctor about getting off of your medication. You can say, okay, what we know about blood pressure is that in general, if I have a good exercise program, a healthy eating program, and a good stress management program, that I am more likely to have a lower blood pressure than if I don't. So my goal for the next year is not going to be to get my blood pressure down 20 points. My goal is going to be to start an exercise program if I don't have one, or if I do have one, increase it slightly to have a little more cardio or a little bit of weight work, or maybe do 2 separate exercise sessions if for some reason, like if you're coming back from an illness, you can't do a whole lot at one time and you don't feel like you're getting enough exercise, you can do a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the evening so that it adds up to the right amount. You can say, okay, the other thing is levels of inflammation in my body can contribute to a higher blood pressure because it tightens the arteries a little bit. When you have the inflammation, they become more tense and you're more likely to have a higher blood pressure. So what can I do about that? Okay, let's see. I can look at my diet. Diets that have a lot of processed food in them tend to be more likely to cause inflammation. So I'm going to lower my processed food. So I'm going to choose more healthy vegetables, more whole grains, more higher fiber meals. Make sure that I'm getting lots and lots of vegetables. And if I'm eating meat, I'm eating a smaller amount compared to the vegetables that I'm eating. That I'm getting plenty of water. You may look at supplements and say, okay, my acupuncturist recommends these herbs. I can take these herbs every day. Or I can add, say, some magnesium if that's something that you need. Or just a mineral supplement a lot of times can also help. And so by planning a daily routine of healthy exercise, healthy diet, doing some stress management, so that's something I didn't mention in the how to put it together, but you could do a mindfulness or a meditation where even if just for every day, 3 times a day, you stop for 2 minutes and just breathe, sit, and then just picture your energy going from the top of your head down, down to around your belly button, just under your belly button, and then just sit with really focusing that energy right there. And if you do that for about a minute, 3 times a day to start with, and then as you feel like you get that under your belt really well, then you go up to 5 minutes a day, or maybe even 10 minutes 3 times a day. That's a huge help in stress response. Or you might decide or to add some journaling where you write about the things going on in your head, what things are worrying you, what things make you happy, what things make you feel good. And by doing those things, by choosing better food, by choosing better exercise, by choosing some meditation, maybe choosing to do some boundary training so that you don't stay stressed because you're worried about other people's expectations or feel like you can't say no to someone for something that's unreasonable for them to expect from you. You do those things, chances are very good that at the end of that result, you will have a lower blood pressure. If you don't, you will have a lot of other benefits. You will have probably a reduced inflammation in your diet. You will certainly have a healthier heart, a healthier immune system, a healthier blood sugar level, because that's what happens when you eat well, exercise well, manage your stress well. So the idea of having goals is very important for everyone. Goals are just part of what makes life work very well. Now, how you have those goals has a lot of variety depending on your personality or your individual circumstances, what else you're dealing with in your life. But goals in general, just a goal, having something that you're moving towards is very, very important. Putting those goals in terms of processes is one of the more helpful ways to do that, because that way you show up every day and it may not happen exactly on your timeline, but you will move towards your goal. Or you'll see you're not moving towards your goal and you can find something else to do that you can shift over to move towards your goal. So this mindfulness video was pretty much inspired because I came in today for my administrative day at the office and I put in my time. I went through and accessed all the different computer programs I had to do for things. I had a piece of furniture I was trying to put together. I had a couple things for later on in the week that I was preparing for. I did my time. I got just about 0 accomplished today. And that was frustrating at first. And so I remembered, though, that one of the things that I've been working on in my life over the past few years is to give myself credit, the self-compassion part that I talk about a lot, give myself credit for the things I did. So I showed up. I put in the time. I gave it my best effort. As I was going through giving it my best effort, I realized that the thing I was trying to put together really needs a second person, so I'll wait until I can get a second person to help me with that. I realized that I didn't have one of the pieces of information that I really needed to be able to do some of the administrative things that I'm trying to do. So I gathered the information I could gather and decided, okay, I'll put it aside and finish the rest of it at another time. So today I did not meet the non-process oriented goal. I don't have some of the boxes I wanted to check off. I can't check off today. But I did do the process. I did show up. I did the things that I could do to move towards the goal. And I know what I need, at least in the big picture of things, to be able to get the goal coming. So that's a win. And if I do that regularly, do that on my scheduled times, always coming in for my administrative times, always showing up to do the things that I want, that I'm moving towards, I will get there eventually. And if I get there a little slower than someone else, who cares? Because I'm able to move in the direction that I'm wanting to go, and I'm further ahead than if I had just decided to slack off and not do anything. So today's Mindful Monday is about being mindful of the processes that it takes to move towards what you want. And that can be a goal of money or health or wellness. It can also be a goal of fun. So if your goal is to do things that are more fun, then you can go through and look through your life and give yourself little moments of fun. Fun isn't just necessarily a 2-week trip to Disneyland or Disney World. That would be fun if you like Disney World, but it can also be taking 15 minutes to read a book, and that can get you the same benefits as far as stress reduction and enjoyment of life on a tiny little scale that you could get from your 2 weeks at Disneyland for 1% of the cost. So Mindful Monday today. Work on the processes, show up on the processes that you want to move towards your goal, and give yourself credit for the things that you're doing right, and enjoy that process. Learn how to move towards a process in a way that is authentically you, is enjoyable, and will get you where you're going. This is Mindful Monday. Have a great week.